All right, folks, grab your mugs because we've got rumors bubbling hotter than a gelatinous cube digesting a goblin. I'm talking D&D 6e, an actual 6e, not a one D&D marketing stunt, not 5.5 with new art and changing how the species are, but a real new edition. And a whisper to say it looks suspiciously like AD&D with a 5e paint job. Plus, the Gygax name was floating around again. Yep, Luke this time. And we've got people connecting some interesting dots. Now, reminder, this is all rumor territory. It's not leaks. It's not insider dossiers. But the sources aren't randos in a Discord basement. My sources are good. And the pattern fits what Hasbro has been signaling. So let's break down what we've got. What the rumor actually says, why the AD&D angle isn't as crazy as it sounds, how does Luke fit into all this, and what a 2027 release tells us about Hasbro's long game for the brand. Let's pour one and get down to it. Here's the short version that's currently making the rounds. D&D 6e is in early development right now, today. Internal playtesting starts likely Q2 of 2026. Full release sometime 2027. I don't know. But that's the exact year the original AD&D Monster Manual turns 50. Essentially, the 50th anniversary of AD&D. The big hook? It's a hybrid of either 1E or 2E DNA. Not quite sure. But it's got modern architecture. Basically, can we rebuild D&D on the 5e engine without scaring away the Fortnite generation? Good luck with that. The proficiency connection. Supposedly, the design team was looking hard at old Oriental Adventures framework and the Wilderness Dungeoneer Survival Guide proficiency systems. In modern terms, that's slot-based skill chassis that predates 3E. And that might be where Luke enters the picture. Now, here's where the rumor mill really amps up. People have noticed Luke posting pictures on social media. Him sitting at a table playing 1E of all systems with Hasbro and WotC execs. Very smiley, very coordinated, very, very much PR. These weren't casual, oh, hey, we bumped into each other at GaryCon chats. Nope. These were corporate photoshops. Or should I say, photo ops. Corporate rumor sources. Multiple corporate rumor sources. Totally independent. Said Luke's name came up in connection to the new edition. Not as a lead designer. Not as a writer. More like advisor, consultant, or heritage ambassador. Here's the important bit. None of my sources knew what Luke is actually doing. What his connection is, only that he's connected. Honestly, that lines up with everything Hasbro has done lately. Nostalgia mining with a shovel. So now, yes, on the surface, it sounds a little insane. I will agree. Why would Hasbro, the same company that tried to monetize every die roll with the still recent OTL fiasco, make a pivot toward the crunchy old school roots of the brand? Well, let us connect the dots. Number one D&D underperformed. I know they're saying best selling ever. The VTT wasn't ready. The rules barely changed. And the community reaction from what I have seen It's been eh. The movie didn't explode the brand. It wasn't a flop. I actually enjoyed it. But it also didn't ignite a new generation of players. Now, the OSR is booming. Shadow Dark, OSC, Dragon Slayer, every BX adjacent Kickstarter is essentially printing money. The classic D&D audience is bigger than they imagined, and certainly bigger than they ever expected. And nostalgia sells. Hasbro isn't blind. Stranger Things, I've got one of their starter sets on my shelf. Oh, I like that little thumbs up. Art trends, retro gaming, this stuff moves product. And 2027 is the perfect symbolic year. 50 years after the Monster Manual, you can almost hear the pitch deck. A return to the game's roots for a new generation. I'll drink to that, right? Corporate marketing departments love that stuff. They literally, it sells, as my niece would say. Now, this is where those proficiency rumors start making sense. If WotC wants to make a game feel more structured, more tactical, without returning to THAC0 charts and weapon speed factors, they go back to late 1E, early 2E proficiency era. It was Gygaxian, but not necessarily punishing. So picture something like attribute checks are still the backbone. Proficiency slots determine what you're good at. Feats become optional, maybe gated. Classes feel more distinct again. Spell lists shrink back towards AD&D flavor. Likely, my guess, less superhero power creep. And more rulings, not rules, baked into the text. 5e players wouldn't revolt, maybe. And old school fans might actually try it. And that's the sweet spot Hasbro wants. So here's my take. Just me, Tenkar, sitting at the bar, talking straight. The timeline fits. The business incentives fit. The nostalgia fits. The Luke Gygax involvement fits way too well to ignore. The new Dan Ayub, the new vice president of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise, he came in to make changes. He came in to make an impact. This is an impact. Do I think the final product will look like AD&D with modern polish? Not exactly. Do I think Hasbro is desperate enough to borrow from the one era of D&D they haven't mined yet? Absolutely. The real question is whether they understand what made AD&D work, or whether they will cherry pick the aesthetics and flatten everything else. But hey, that's 2027's problem, right? Not ours right now. So that's where you come in. What would you want from a 6E that tries to bring back the AD&D spirit? More grit, more lethality, class identities that actually matter, proficiencies that don't feel like baby's first skill system? Drop it in the comments below. This is one rumor I want the community chewing on. Until next time, be well, be safe, God bless, roll those dice, roll them well, and I'll see you at the tavern.